What's the hardest thing you've ever tried to do? And it doesn't matter whether you succeeded, just like the hardest thing you've ever attempted.
I think resigning from the White House. That was tough. Resigning from the White House. I used to have a job in the White House. Google me. I tell you, that was hard. I was out here, Reverend Cecil Williams, you don't really know all the lives that you touched. I marched behind you more times than you know. Under Mayor Frank Jordan. He's like, yeah, I remember those marches. And a lot of us back in the 90s, so frustrated with all the police brutality and the expansion of the prison system, and we got together, we organized. We had some victories, but also burned out real bad. And in trying to get my health back, I discovered a lot of positive stuff. Meditation, a lot of ecological stuff. But I was having to drive all the way to Marin County to get those experiences, and I would drive back to Oakland. And, I'm like, I go to Marin County, they got stuff we don't have in Oakland. They've got the meditation centers. This is in the early 2000s. They got all this positive stuff. They've got the hybrid cars. They've got the solar panels. They got all kind of stuff we don't have in Oakland. Like salads. Like all kind of stuff. And so I started trying to figure out how to get some of that stuff going in Oakland, and to bring green jobs and green stuff to Oakland. I got a chance to actually work with your co-founder, Leah Indris, who was also my co-founder at Green for All. Give Leah Indris a big round of applause. Stand up, Leah. Stand up, Leah. For real. And we did well enough in Oakland, I wound up in the White House, which is unusual. And then all my crazy, berserkly past came out. Now, it came out on a particular station. And I'm not going to give them any free publicity. But I will say this, and I've said it before. If you have a cousin or an uncle or an ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, somebody you went to high school with, and you notice them on Facebook and Twitter always saying completely ignorant stuff, and you discover that there's one news source that they're listening to all the time, I would just suggest you just begin to inquire and just say something like this. If you are getting all of your information from a news source that is named after a sneaky, furry, predatory mammal that cannot be trusted to guard the hen house or anything else, maybe you should just diversify your sources. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Just diversify.
So Van, I may have made a movie about that fox.
In fact, give him a round of applause. The documentaries, this guy's, if he had just done the documentaries that he did under the Bush era oppression and afterwards, we would owe him a great deal. But you're the guy that really put Rupert Murdoch in the crosshairs and on the map with your great documentaries. But it didn't stop him, it didn't stop Fox, and it wound up stopping me. And I had to quit. And I felt terrible about it because I felt like I let everybody down, honestly. I felt like we had a shot with Obama, but I felt more importantly that we had a shot taking some of these California ideas to D.C. And I remember sitting there in my house in D.C. My wife was there. Little Matai at that time was still barely walking. Cabral is like 2 weeks from kindergarten. He's running around. And I'm looking on the internets and watching this whole thing play out. And I felt like somebody had really literally ripped my face off and stapled this ugly, scary face onto my face. And this person that they were showing and the things that they were saying and everything out of context and some of it not true and some of it true. And it was just, you just feel you guys see people go through these controversies in the news and it's just like, oh, well, kind of click the channel. If you're that person, if you're the person that has all these different things out there being said and you know that they're not true or they're out of context, you gotta look at your wife. And she's moved her whole family, quit her job. And your son is running around with an Obama t-shirt on. And he's telling all his friends, my daddy works in the White House. And you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, well, if I quit, that's the rest of my life, I'm a loser. I'm just that guy. I'm just a splat on the windshield of the Tea Party. But if I stay, the entire White House is going to have to spend infinite hours trying to explain who Mumia Abu-Jamal is to America. That may not be a good use of the White House's time. So, the hardest thing I ever did, picked up the phone, called my chief of staff. I said, I'm just a staffer. This is the first black president. We're about to move on health care. We're about to move on climate. We got 60 votes in the Senate. We got Pelosi running the House. I'm just a staffer. I'm not going to be the banana peel that takes out the first black president. And I'm quitting. He said, no, we're going to fight. Don't do that. I said, listen, you got a bunker mentality going on here. I'm looking at this stuff. I know this country. I know these people. This is not going to end. Let's just throw in the towel now and let this president get back on message. And that's what I did. Now, I got my nerve up about 3 weeks ago to ask my son, because I was clinically depressed for about a year and a half. I wasn't any good to anybody. And when you make your living being smart and thinking, and your brain is made of oatmeal, like toxic oatmeal, and you can't even think, you can't get out of bed, and your wife has to take up the slack, and your friends, the main thing you're worried about is how's this going to impact my children, seeing their dad in this condition. So I finally got my nerve up. I don't think I've even told you this. Or I even told Kwame. Hey, Kwame. By the way, that's one of my longest friends in the whole world right there, Kwame Uncle. Give him a round of applause. I love this brother right here. So I finally got the nerve up, actually, to ask Cabral if he remembered when I worked in the White House. And he goes, I remember that you worked in the White House. I said, well, do you remember going to the White House? He goes, not really. I said, do you remember when I quit and all that? He goes, not really. I know that you quit. And I said, well, what do you remember about Washington, D.C.? And he says, me and you playing foosball. So at least he didn't take the hit. And he's a good kid, and I love him. So.